Hey, this is Dr. Dean. Thanks for joining me. My next paper is entitled Understanding Trade Room Track Records, and it has been a lot of fun. I intend to submit it soon to Futures Truth. It should be published in early October. I've started with 6 rooms, and here they are, that have published track records. And of course, as always, bravo for them for doing that. They are hard to understand, though, track records, and they're certainly hard to compare them one room to another. So the first comparison I'm going to do is between bullseye traders and trading futures in action. I do the comparison not to be competitive, but in order to see how 2 track records, which are quite dissimilar, by the way, can be mathematically modeled to produce a similar outcome that answers the same question for each track record, which is the following. Based on a $10,000 starting account and taking all trades at 3 contracts a trade, what is the net percentage profit expected for 2016? So here we go. And as always, thanks for being here. Now for Bullseye, the first one, I have some experience with them, going back 2013. This is a screenshot of their website. See this here? Home of the world best night trader. Little clumsy, right? Or, awkward. I published a paper a week later entitled Puffery, Pomp, and Strut in Market Clips, and in there I had a dozen or more mangled marketing messages in various rooms that were trying to promote themselves but actually messed up in doing it. Now, fast forward 2 years to 2015. I said to him, look, I sent them an email. I said, you have this statement here, home of world best night trading. It should be apostrophe S, and B should be capitalized. It should look like this. You know what they did? They changed it. Now, they didn't thank me. They didn't even acknowledge me, but I guess it's an improvement. I get these kind of announcements. The best and most consistent signals. All right. So how is best measured and who did it? How is consistent measured and who did that? Our proprietary signals. Come on now. They're not proprietary. I went to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. I went to the World Intellectual Property Office. You have no patents. You have no trademarks. You have no copyrights. None of this is proprietary. It'll help you get on your way to a successful career. All right. So what is the financial definition of successful career? You must know what it is, otherwise you couldn't claim to help us be on our way for it. Same kind of claims and statements are seen in announcements for webinars, even emails like this, we trade real money. They may not, I don't know, but bundled together, they're puffery. They are statements that are promotional, they're oversized, they're designed to amplify the performance of any particular site or room, and we're not to take them literally. And I'll be candid with you, Bullseye Trader is not alone. Here's some examples of puffery from a dozen different sites. Claims and statements that may be real, may not. You can't determine that. They don't apply to you. There are no promises, but there they are, oversized statements. All right, so let's look at track record. 2012, 13, 14, 15, and 7 months into 2016. 35% in 7 months is the same thing as 60% in a year, so I extrapolated 2016 to a full year. You can see the average for the last 5 years is 133%, and this is net after costs and commissions. So I have a couple of rules about track records. Rule number 1 is that they must show the number of trades per day, contracts, and so on. And that's not here. I also like to know how much they make based on 3 contracts a trade, because it goes to trade efficiency, but I can't establish that here. All I can work on is the percentage, so let us do that, okay? And remember, it's net. Net percentage per year, net percent per average. So here's 2016 again, 35% in 7 months. We'll move this up here. 35% in 7 months is roughly 60% in 1 year if you extrapolate for 12 months. So on a $10,000 account, 35% would be about a $3,500 gain. And for the year, it will be $6,000. Global trade titans average $1,000 a week, $50,000 a year. So on a $10,000 account, they would make roughly 500% net at the end of 1 year. 60% or 500%. Or if you use the 5-year moving average of 133%, 500 is still bigger. So, in terms of know thy performance, the first room, bullseye trader, 60% in 2016, 133% for 5 years, versus global trade titans that come in at 500%. Now you might ask, are you sure? Or can you show me an example of a titan that makes at least 500% a year? So let's do that, shall we? Remove this, and let's look at trading futures in action. Here's their track record from January 1st to July 31st, the same time frame that is in the bullseye track record. They started 11,595. They finished off at 85 with a delta of 73,000 and change. And when you subtract out all the round trip costs, it's 46,000 net. 46,000 in 7 months is the same thing as 79,000 and almost 80,000 in 1 year. So on a $10,000 account, you would estimate to make 798%. And that's equivalent, or in comparison, to the 60% that they generate in the same year on the same time. Now, how do I know about all these trades? I watched. I was in the room every day. Since the room opened, actually, on October 29th, I have seen every trade. And in business, what that's called is perfect knowledge. In this case, it's perfect empirical knowledge. I watched and recorded all 1,933 trades shown in this graph. This is my data. Every trade, every entry, target, stop, and profit loss, the number of contracts, the pullback, when the trade was executed, the profit loss per trade, profit loss per day, day by day, by week, by month, for the entire 7 months that are shown here. And on the date I did this video, which is now August 5th, Friday, 2016, this is a screenshot of my computer. Up in the upper left on top is trading futures in action. On the upper right is Polaris. The bottom left is Trade for Greatness. I think you can see me listed there as a presenter. And the fourth room is private, so I had to sort of cameo him out. But nevertheless, 4 rooms at once, which I've been doing for about almost 5 years now. Now let's try something, shall we? Let's get rid of all this. Look at the same data set. There's another site out there that provides reviews of trade rooms. This guy, do you recognize him? No? tradingschools.org. Emmett Moore has someone unknown to me in the Philippines, that's his misspelling, not mine, that looks at a room for 3, 4, 5 days and forms an opinion. Here's Emmett Moore. And let's say he looked at these 3, 4, 5 days in trading futures in action. But you know, come to think of it, he's actually not in the room. Yeah, but he writes the review. Yeah, but he has no empirical information. All right, I'll split the difference. We'll show Emmett Moore's head that's proportional to the size of the data he represents. I represented all 7 months. He represents 3, 4, 5 days. There he is. And if he came in then and looked at those 5 days, he probably would conclude no net profit, which would be right. But you know, if he showed up here and watched these days, he'd probably conclude horrible. But if he showed up here and watched these 5 days, well, he'd probably say terrific. And if he showed up here and saw these 5 days, he'd probably say, yeah, never mind, no profits again. What's the problem with this? Such a small amount of information is difficult. Watching 4 or 5 days in a trade room and concluding on it, it's like watching a major league pitcher pitch 4 or 5 innings and concluding on the season. It's just galactically stupid. He's never posted a single live trade. He's never had a trade room. He's never published a single paper in the futures industry, which makes him uniquely qualified to provide no analysis on trade data, trade performance, the value of the room, and the transparency of the process. Absent, he writes the review on the secondhand information that comes from the unknown person in Philippines. And he hopes that someone will come along, maybe one of you, from which he can sell advertising space. This is not a good thing. I don't like this. This reminds me of this, the elephant and the blind man. Remember? They each approached and got a different impression, but remember, this is a direct piece of information. These blind men, the blind man who touched the trunk, had direct knowledge of the trunk, and the blind man who touched the ear likewise. So they had some knowledge. This was fragmentary. This is really not the blind man. This is really the blind leading the blind, because he has not been there. So, to conclude then, Bullseye, I applaud them for their track record. Comparing to trading futures in action, not quite as good. The next room up, Ox Street. So this is Dr. Dean. As always, I thank you for listening. I value your opinions. If you agree or disagree, if I've misrepresented something, or if I'm wrong, let me know. I am on record as taking down several videos that people point out distinct mistakes or errors on my part, and I corrected them immediately and reposted the corrected video. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.